without wisdom or experience. Storms shall ill-weathered be, but when you are nearby, dear one, no storms can bother me.
Wow. Day 3. Oh, the exiled princess paused on the very first line of her letter. Is that too familiar? Will he dislike it? Brother of her memory was a kind boy, but rather stiff and particularly mindful of decorum. Oh man. Following the events of the previous evening, Cassidy felt compelled to rewrite her half-finished letter. Oh no, the way these are worded is horrible. No, I don't like either of these. Poo-poo. Like, I want to leave it the way it is, but I don't want to turn this little bean into a fucking pessimist over here. God damn it. Yeah, no, I want to leave it. I want to leave it the way it is, which means we're picking not that he would care. Not that Alexander will care either way. I'm sure he's too busy to even read my letters through. Still, I want him to know how I spend my days. I feel less alone when I read his letters, and if mine can ease his spirits, then it's a worthwhile endeavor. Cassidy finished the letter without much of a fuss. She wrote briefly of Elowen, a passerby, helping her find firewood. If it finds you well. Greatly enjoyed the last book you sent me, however, it had such a sad ending. Even though the father loved his youngest daughter, so it all came to nothing in the end. Both of them died. Can there be any worse fate than to die at your loved one's hand? I dare say not. The book has given me much to think about, though I do hope you send a happier tome next time. I do begin to tire of reading such dreary works. This poor girl, her brother keeps sending her fucking sad books. This is the worst. Fire him. What the hell? I can't. Hold on. Aha! My life here is not so sad, you see. I have lived well thanks to your kindness. Did run into some trouble the other day when I ran out of firewood. Aha! A passerby helped her find firewood. Most of the contents, however, were in regards to the book she had recently finished. Perhaps this will encourage my dear brother to send me more. When Cassidy looked out the window, she realized the sun had started to set. You took all day to write one letter?
Oh dear. Was I revising for so long?
Damn!
Silly me.
She folded up her letter and placed it in an envelope, sealing it with the royal wax seal she was given. She stood and stretched her arms above her head.
I have hardly moved all day. That is no good.
Cassidy walked to the front of the cottage, where she normally left her letters halfway beneath the door for an agent to collect. She had just stuffed her letter under the door when...
Princess?
Now, wait a minute. Cassidy's blood ran cold for just a moment. Yet she soon realized who was addressing her and relaxed.
You surprised me, Elowen.
She spoke to the other woman through the half-opened window at the front of the cottage.
I am no princess, you know.
Is that so? You seem like one to me.
Cassidy was not sure how to respond to that sentiment. Have I casually let slip that I was a princess? Maybe when she saw that whole ass letter, or maybe before that, when she was tasked to murder me. I swear to God, I don't know anything about this game, so if that's right, my mind is blown, but that's the vibe I'm getting. Have I casually let slip that I was a princess? I did not realize that I still behaved in the manner of one. Lifelong habits cannot so soon be discarded, it seems.
There is an envelope under the door.
Oh, yes. Do leave it there. It's outgoing.
Outgoing?
Elowen paused for a long while, but said no more on the subject.
May I come in?
Oh, of course. I'm so sorry. I should have invited you sooner. I was so taken aback, you see.
I did not mean to surprise you so.
It's all right. A happy surprise. I am so glad to see you.
She opened the door and ushered Elowen inside. This time, Cassidy did not forget her manners. She quickly flew into the kitchen to make her guests some tea and pulled out the crackers she'd set aside for just such an occasion. You are in the middle of nowhere, but you still have crackers for guests? Interesting. Elowen politely sipped the tea, but did not touch the crackers. I wonder why. I don't care if you've already eaten. You don't turn down free food. I feel like every choice I pick is wrong. There's no indication of that yet, but I feel like every choice I pick is wrong. Actually, I guess I don't think every choice I've picked is wrong. The first couple I'm pretty satisfied with, but the last several choices I've been very unsure of. Are you a vampire? Is that why you're not eating? But you're drinking the tea. Why? I wonder why she doesn't eat. Perhaps these aren't to her taste? Seems a waste when I saved these crackers purposely in order to be a good hostess when next she came. Though she was quite confused, Cassidy quietly ate a cracker or two before putting the tray away. The two women talked pleasantries for some time, though it became rather apparent that Elowen's attention lay elsewhere.
Is everything quite all right?
Why do you ask?
You seem somewhat reserved. That is more than usual.
That letter.
Hmm?
You said it was outgoing. Is that the letter you wrote your brother?
Oh, yes. If I leave the letters there, someone will come collect it.
Someone? How can that be? You do not go into town to have your mail delivered?
She was at a loss as to how to explain. Cassidy herself knew that her situation was extraordinary.
You see, though I live alone, I am well taken care of. My brother provides everything. Every fortnight or so, his agents deliver food and supplies to me. Someone is around to collect my outgoing letters once or twice a day. I only ever send my brother letters, of course.
I was not wrong when I said this place was like a jail. Why do you live here alone, when he clearly has enough resources to take care of you?
Cassidy shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Elowen's eyes seemed not to look at her so much as bore into her soul. Cassidy felt judged and deemed unworthy, though she had not yet responded to Elowen's inquiry. No matter how she phrased it in her head, it sounded awful.
I am here for my own safety.
She took a deep breath.
When you called me Princess earlier, you were not far off the mark. I once was a princess, though I am no longer. After my father, the king's death, I was to inherit the throne. But our barons in Parliament voted no confidence. Worse, I was then handed trumped-up charges of treason. I very well could have been executed. Instead, my younger brother intervened on my behalf.
This sounds schemy, actually.
So you are.
Alive. In exile. But alive.
The former princess surprised herself at the depth of her own feelings, at the desperation with which she tried to convince especially herself that this was for the best.
It's not so terrible. This cottage is lovely. It is a good thing to be among nature like this.
How can you be so positive?
What?
You speak so fondly of your brother, when he is the one who exiled you, who left you here to rot in isolation.
It's not like that, Elowen.
What part of what I said is false? Tell me.
It's not that simple. It is not Alexander's fault.
As a result of your dear Alexander's intervention, you were exiled, were you not? Who's to say he was not responsible for the unfavorable vote in the first place?
That's what I'm saying.
Why would he do that? What would he have to gain?
Girl power, hello?
It is not my brother's fault. He could have let them kill me, but I am alive thanks to him.
I've previously stated my belief that you are kind and good. I have now revised my opinion. You are a blind fool. As I am mute, you are blind. Altogether too blind to the selfish ways of the world.
What is your meaning?
It is nothing. Believe in your brother all you wish, but you cannot deny that there is a truth to what I've said.
Elowen rose from her seat in one swift movement and then headed for the door.
Good night, princess.
I am princess no longer. Mock me not, I beg you.
Just like that, she was gone, disappeared into the dark. Cassidy wrapped her arms around her torso, hugging herself for comfort in the wake of Elowen's sudden indignant anger. Feeling comfort none, the former princess squeezed her eyes shut. Oh, Alexander, if only she knew you as I do, then she would understand. Pretty.
There is a treasure that can't be bought, no matter how long it may be sought. It is something priceless, yet free. I speak, of course, of an apology.
Wow, I like that these are kind of riddles. Fun. I like it. Rhyming and riddles is fun. Day 4. After a restless sleep, Cassidy awoke to the sun's harsh rays. She stretched, arching her back to release the tension there. Finally, her gaze went to the front door. There was a distinct lack of a letter beneath it. They must have come in the night. How diligent my brother's agents are. You're a blind fool. All at once, the memories of her argument with Elowen nearly knocked the wind out of her.
I cannot believe I divulged such secrets to someone I barely know.
Honestly, that was crazy. Cassidy was puzzled, both at herself and at Elowen's odd behavior. I mean, clearly she had her... Everybody has their reasons for doing everything, you know? Elowen appeared so upset. I wonder if she experienced something similar? Perhaps my blind optimism reminded her too much of it. I'm sure she's only worried for me. I seem to inspire that breed of pity in others. I can understand that. I'm afraid I often come off as quite helpless.
I must ask her about her own life. We know so little about each other. It's no wonder she would react that way. One can only draw conclusions based on what one already knows.
Presently, there was a knock at the door. Given how long it had been since her last shipment, as well as the fact that Elowen was far more likely to announce her presence with words, Cassidy could draw but one conclusion. She waited nearly 10 minutes before opening the door. It was protocol. She knew not who her brother sent, and it was unclear whether they knew whom they were delivering to. The royal family of Faramir had a distinctive look to them. It would not do for too many people to know who she was, or that a former princess dwelled here. Wait, so you're telling me that even before you said anything, just by looking at you, Elwyn probably knew who you were. Brilliant. When she finally allowed herself to open the door, she found a large wooden crate not unlike the previous ones. Sitting atop the crate's contents was a sealed envelope. Cassidy instantly recognized the severe cursive. To my sister, I'm glad to hear that you're adjusting well to life at the cottage. Doubtless there are many things that challenge you, given your former life, but we must all make the best of things. Know that you have too much time on your hands, so I've been sure to enclose more books for you to read. You may one day be called upon to marry well for the advantage of king and country. What? You were going to put her to death, and then you exiled her, but you still want her to do some stupid arranged marriage bullshit? Huh? What? The nerve? As such, it's the utmost importance that you keep your mind sharp and your hands unidle. What a fucking piss boy. The last part seems to have been written later as the script looked slightly different. I think of you often, worry about you more often still. Be safe in the forest and keep to yourself, though I know that is difficult for you. Please await my next letter. I remain your loyal brother, A. She read over the letter many times, trying her best to glean affection from it.
Alexander has always been a little awkward. I'm sure the last bit was added with some reluctance, after one of his advisors chastised him for the content of his letter.
She smiled and ran her fingertips along the part that read, I think of you often. Then she remembered the sentence about marriage. Whoops. Gross? What the fuck is this how thoughtful bullshit? Excuse? No. Barf. I don't want to do that shit. I've never considered marriage even before my exile. Can a noble or royal from another nation be content with a wife who's been living in the woods? And more importantly, do I want any of those motherfuckers? There you go. Can I even be content myself in such a marriage? The letter did not raise her spirits as much as letters from Alexandria usually did. The implication of it weighed on her. Of course, I must be useful to the kingdom somehow. Why else would I be alive still, if I can be of use even as a disgraced princess? Cassidy sighed. She could not finish that thought. All of a sudden, Cassidy wanted nothing but to see Eowyn again.
I will seek her out. I must.
The other woman's presence would certainly be a salve for her current mood. That was her reasoning, and she swiftly acted upon it. Cassidy set the crate away inside the cottage and then set out. After a long, fruitless walk about the forest, she arrived in front of the wisteria tree.
Eowyn.
Princess?
I am no longer a princess.
Just because you no longer live in a castle does not mean that you are no longer a princess.
Cassidy was reminded of the word marriage once again. Eowyn was right. She was still considered a princess, and so far as a princess could be useful. A long silence passed between them. Both were conscious, no doubt, of the argument that had transpired between them, an argument that they had not yet resolved.
I am sorry.
Elowen's eyes widened almost imperceptibly, but Cassidy, staring into the other woman's face as she was, took note.
I should not have burdened you with my circumstances to begin with. But you were only worried for me. I should have been more sensitive in my explanation.
No.
Cassidy was struck by the sight of Elowen's soft smile as she laughed. The former princess's heart fluttered, and her brother's letter was promptly forgotten.
It is nothing. It would seem that I, too, am quite the fool.
The air thusly cleared. The two women were able to enjoy the rest of their day together. They whiled the time away in companionable satisfaction. That night, Cassidy drifted off to sleep with a full heart.
The strings of love are oft unseen. Though wrapped around you, they may be. When tied fast, none can come between, nor challenge humble fate's decree.
Wow. Day 5. How many days are there?
How beautiful it is today.
Indeed.
Elowen had surprised Cassidy early that morning, arriving at her front door without warning. Though Elowen didn't even knock. Silly creature. Wonder if she would have left if I hadn't seen her and opened the door. The thought bothered her almost as much as the notion that Elowen might not yearn for Cassidy's company the way Cassidy did for hers. After some time spent lingering, both paralyzed by indecision, they decided to go on a leisurely nature walk. For the next few hours, they strolled through the forest together, stopping here and there to pick berries or mushrooms.
That one is poisonous. Do not touch it.
Thank goodness you're here.
Right!
Cassidy drew her hand back in mortified alarm.
It would not do for your lovely skin to be marred by poisonous spores.
Cassidy hazarded a glance at the other woman's face, but Elowen looked as unflappable as ever. Poisonous? How do you know so much? And please teach me your ways.
You know so much about the flora and fauna here. However did you learn it all?
I have lived here many years. In that time, I have witnessed many interesting things. I have learned much, letting the people who pass through educate me. However, it's been a solitary life. I have seen much, but experienced little.
Elowen.
I have long felt like someone on the outside, looking in on a world I could never touch.
Who are you? There was a melancholy in Elowen's countenance that Cassidy had not yet seen, nor even thought the woman capable of. The Elowen she knew was dignified, taking such charge of her emotions that none ever showed. I've not known her long, of course. Perhaps that was merely how she comports herself around those of little acquaintance.
What made you decide to reach out to me?
Reach out.
That is...
She thought back to their first meeting, the way her own heart had leapt at the sight of Elowen. And Elowen had known all about her, had apparently been watching her for some time.
You didn't have to be sitting under the tree that day. You could have continued watching me from afar. But you found me. You spoke to me.
And I'm so glad she did, but I fear she might call me silly if I say such a thing.
I thought you delicately beautiful.
Damn. The matter-of-fact way that Elowen said this struck Cassidy. She was flattered, of course, yet part of her was also worried. Beauty was not something lasting. It would be a shaky foundation for any relationship. If it had been a courtier complimenting her beauty, Cassidy might have taken it better. But this was Elowen, a woman of whom she was becoming increasingly fond.
Thought? That's past tense, is it not? What do you think of me now?
I still think you exceedingly beautiful. But dainty and delicate you are not. You are far from being the poised princess I took you for.
Cassidy winced and her mouth formed a little pout as she turned her eyes to the ground. As I thought. It's to be expected. Someone so graceful as Elowen would of course find me lacking.
You are not what I expected, but I believe that might be for the better.
Slowly, Cassidy tilted her face up, her eyes growing large with disbelief.
For the better?
You are always exceeding my expectations. I wonder if the other people I allowed to come and go would have as well, had I let them so near.
Well,
Hmm?
it may be selfish of me, but I'm truly happy you let the others go. I'm glad that I'm the only person you allowed close. I'm sorry, that makes me sound so ugly.
No. No uglier than I.
What? Suddenly in Cassidy's eyes, Elowen looked so very haggard. She peered through the polished veneer and saw a woman who was tired and hungry.
Are you alright?
In a blink, Elowen appeared to be the same as always.
I am fine.
Even so, Cassidy couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off.
Are you quite sure? You seem tired.
Elowen was silent for a long while.
Yes. Perhaps. Perhaps I am tired. Forgive me. I am not used to the midday sun.
It occurred to Cassidy then that she had never seen Elowen in the morning before. Could she be something of a night owl? I hadn't supposed it. Here I invited her to walk with me, underneath the full blaze of the sun. How thoughtless I am.
Elowen,
Yes?
why don't you stay with me at my cottage tonight?
What?
Well, I am worried about you. And it can't be easy, being a woman and living alone.
She knew this best of all.
I would be much more at ease if you would come with me tonight. Let us break bread together and while away the night in comfort.
She was not expecting Elowen to accept. Not Elowen, who had reacted so strongly to an invitation merely a few days earlier. And yet...
All right.
Really?
Would it be better if I returned to my home?
No! I was just worried that you would not accept. I realize that's not very... dainty, to be so forward.
At this, Elowen finally smiled. Cassidy's heart felt akin to an acrobat at the sight, doing backflips and pirouettes in joy.
It would be my honor to accompany you. It may do us both some good.
As ever, Cassidy was far too excited to hear the latter. Looking forward to a night with her new favorite person, she had already changed course and started along the path home. Cassidy closed the front door behind them and went to the kitchen to put away the plants they'd gathered.
Is there anything I can help with?
Oh, leave it to me. Just have a seat and rest. You really do look tired.
All right.
While she put her affairs in order in the kitchen, Cassidy couldn't help but think back to the things Elowen had said. She said that she likes me the way I am. It's so kind. She felt a deep sense of warmth and satisfaction, the likes of which she had not felt in a long time. Cassidy returned to the living room a short while later, 2 cups of tea in hand.
Oh!
She found Elowen asleep, slumped on the divan. Poor thing, she must have been exhausted. There was a loose strand of hair in front of Elowen's face. Cassidy reached down and tucked behind her ear. She looks so innocent when she's asleep. Chuckling to herself, Cassidy let Elowen rest and pass some quiet time reading by the other woman's side. Night soon fell and the pair supped together. She still isn't eating anything. She had plenty of tea earlier, but could it be that she's foreign? Perhaps she's too polite to say that it's not to her taste. Elowen, being unaware of being observed so directly, delicately sipped a glass of water.
Are you full?
I am satisfied.
How can you be when you didn't eat anything?
I simply am not hungry at this very moment.
Or ever.
I see.
Her tone left no room for argument. After dinner, Cassidy cleared the plates and things away and began to get the room ready for sleep. Cottage was not large. Her parlor had to double as her bedroom out of necessity. It was all well and good for a single person, but now that another had been added, Cassidy became acutely aware of the lack of space.
There's only one bed.
I do not mind sleeping on the divan.
A divan? That's how you say that? Okay.
I already did earlier.
Once again, I'm sorry that I didn't wake you up. You just looked so at peace. I could not bear to wake you.
I'm embarrassed to have allowed you to see me in such a state. I only fear... No, it is nothing. I will gladly sleep on the divan or the ground. I am not choosy.
Oh, that won't do at all. You're a guest.
Cassidy gulped. Truth be told, she had one other, much more preferable arrangement in mind.
We could share the bed. There's room enough for two.
I notice you do not offer to sleep on the divan.
Struck by her own lack of graciousness, Cassidy bit her lip, cowed into silence.
I am only teasing. If you do not mind being so snug, I will be happy to share the space with you.
Nothing would please me more than to be close to you. I mean... Yes! Wonderful! I shall fetch another pillow then.
She flew out of the room to retrieve a spare pillow from the closet, face burning with embarrassment. Aw, so cozy.
Do you have enough space? You're not too cramped.
I am fine. Truth be told, I do not mind the proximity.
There was a faraway look in Elowen's eyes.
I'd been alone for so long. Until you came.
How did you come to live here in the forest? Where is your family?
Oh. You know, don't probe deeper. Don't do that. Perhaps it's not that she does not wish to tell me, but that she cannot. She may have some circumstances that prevent her from speaking on the subject. Was it impertinent of me to bring it up?
I'm sorry. Is it difficult for you to tell me?
It is a trying subject. I'm not quite sure where to begin.
She took a deep breath.
I have lived here all my life. Once I was not alone, but...
Elowen paused and sighed.
You remember the wisteria tree?
Of course! That's my favorite place in the entire forest.
Have you noticed that there are no other wisteria trees around it?
Now that you mention it.
She never had thought about it, but as Cassidy searched her memory, she realized that Elowen was correct.
You're right. I wonder why that is.
There is an even older wisteria tree deep in the forest. But now those are the only two left, and they are so far from each other. So it is with me.
Cassidy found her choice of words puzzling, but nodded.
I once had siblings. They have long since departed, so I don't really have family here anymore. Others have come and gone, as I said, but I could not relate to them. I watched them from afar without entering their lives, and did not mourn them when they left mine. And so, the years went by.
You'll never be alone again.
Elowen's eyes widened. Cassidy thought she might start crying, but she only smiled sadly.
I see.
Cassidy snuggled just a bit closer to the other woman, as if to show meaning through actions where words might fail. And so they passed the night together, pleasant company and warm conversation.